Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Trump about to give us a speech live on autism, guys. If y'all remember, during the Charlie Kirk funeral, he most definitely announced that they were going to be making a big announcement today, guys. I guess the time has come. We finna find out exactly what he was talking about, y'all. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. Most definitely hit that like button. Shout out to anybody that's in the building, guys. What's up? What's up? Make sure we straight over here. You know, I'm like a perfectionist. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to anybody in the building, man. What's up, y'all? As we wait on Trump to get his speech. Shout out to everybody in the building, guys. What's up? Make sure y'all are double tapping that screen, man. Most definitely get the likes up as we wait on Trump to enter the building. Tell you what, while we wait on Trump, we're gonna go over here to the briefing. The first one since Charlie Kirk died. Most definitely, man, as we wait on Trump to come into the building and give us this announcement on autism. Yeah, let's go right here. Let's go right here.
Of President Trump's very busy schedule for the week. Later this afternoon, the president will be making a major announcement focused on the childhood autism epidemic, alongside his top health advisors who are working to make America healthy again. This will be a powerful display of how the entire Trump administration is committed to addressing root causes of chronic conditions and diseases, embracing full transparency in government, and championing gold standard science. Tonight, the president will depart to New York City ahead of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. He will be joined in New York City by the First Lady. Tomorrow morning, President Trump will deliver a major speech touting the renewal of American strength around the world, his historic accomplishments in just 8 months, including the ending of 7.
Trump is about to give a major announcement, guys, concerning autism. We most definitely jumping over there as soon as it starts. This is the White House briefing that they gave a little bit ago. Shout out to that gift.
The president upon how globalist institutions have significantly decayed the world order, and he will articulate his straightforward and constructive vision for the world. The president will also be hosting bilateral meetings with the UN Secretary General and the leaders of Ukraine, Argentina, and the European Union. The president will also later in the day hold a multilateral meeting with Qatar, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, the UAE, and Jordan. After these important meetings, the president will attend a reception tomorrow night with more than 100 world leaders before returning to Washington, D.C. On Thursday here at the White House, President Trump will welcome President Erdogan of Turkey for a bilateral meeting. And on Friday, the president will travel to Long Island for the Ryder Cup golf match between the United States and Europe. This event is one of the greatest sporting events in the world, and it would not be taking place this year without President Trump's help. President Trump signed an executive order last week preventing a strike that would have crippled the New York City area ahead of the tournament, and at the request of the 5 labor unions who all represent workers on the Long Island Railroad. One of the greatest golfers in the world, Bryson DeChambeau, praised the president's critical intervention, saying, quote, "When the possibility of a strike threatened to disrupt transportation and attendance, President Trump..."
Shout out to everybody in the building, man. Make sure y'all take time to click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is the White House briefing that they gave just a bit ago, right before Trump is set to give us a big announcement about autism. We will be going over there live as soon as it starts, guys.
Stepped up and took the action needed to protect this world-class competition. Thanks to President Trump's decisive leadership, the Ryder Cup experience will be everything fans and the golf community deserve. Again, that's a quote from the great golfer Bryson DeChambeau. Now let's all hope the American Ryder Cup team can take home the trophy. In other news, positive economic data continues to pour in. Brand new polling shows that Americans' faith in the economy and the direction of the nation is back on track and shooting even higher. Home ownership is more affordable, with mortgage rates dropping to a 3-year low. For new home buyers, this represents a $250 decline in your monthly mortgage payment, or nearly $3,000 a year. And President Trump has made it very clear he wants to continue to see mortgage rates decline to a record low, just like they did in his first term. Thanks to President Trump's unleashing energy dominance, gas prices are dropping and Americans are spending the smallest share of their disposable income on gasoline since
I don't know about that. The gas might have dropped, but the food's still high.
2005. Additionally, the annual cost to own and operate a new vehicle is down by nearly 6% over the last year. Americans are earning more and they are spending more.
They said we earning more and spending more. Where's the more at? Spending more for sure. I don't know about earning, man. Lord have mercy.
Than ever before. After inflation outpaced for 26 straight months under Joe Biden, real wages have increased nearly every month since President Trump took office, with wages for blue-collar workers rising at the fastest rate in 6 decades. Retail sales are also booming, up 5% over last year, and the stock market is booming, and Americans' retirement accounts continue to do well, with the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all hitting new record highs. In fact, the S&P 500 is up nearly 15%, and the NASDAQ is up more than 21%.
Drop a 1 in the chat if you agree with me. Yeah, man, gas may have got a little bit lower, but the food prices are through the roof, man. You know what I'm saying? Drop a 1 if you're spending more than you're making. I'm just saying. She said they making more, they spending more. Oh no, I'm making less than spending more. I'm just saying, man. Yeah, it's a struggle day to day just to make it. Shout out to that
gift. Since Election Day. As part of President Trump's mission to restore America as the manufacturing superpower of the world, he has secured nearly $9 trillion in U.S. investment, nearly 9 times more than Biden attracted in his entire 4-year term. And we expect that number to be upwards of $15 trillion very soon.
I see all the
We're already seeing the initial economic benefits of these investments, with industrial production recently rising to an all-time high. President Trump built the greatest economy in the history of the world in his first term, and we are witnessing him do it all over again. Now, before I open it up to questions, I do want to speak on the heinous political assassination of Charlie Kirk. As President Trump powerfully stated yesterday, this assassination was an attack on everything that makes the United States of America the greatest country on earth. But that attack has completely failed. The heartwarming response from the overwhelming majority of the American people over the past 2 weeks is all of the...
Well, some people seem to think it was an inside job, man. I don't know if y'all watch Candace Owens, one of Charlie's friends, but she most definitely ain't rolling with what they putting out. She didn't even attend the funeral. She said, man, I'd rather, stay away from anything that the FBI basically is holding and is in control of. I'm just saying, that's what Candace said.
Proof that you need. The assassin who took Charlie's life can destroy flesh and blood, but he can never destroy the values that Charlie stood for. All across the country, millions of Americans have prayed, hosted vigils, attended church services, became politically engaged for the first time, and honored the legacy of Charlie and the ideals he died speaking for. The beautiful memorial service attended by President Trump and 100,000 great Americans in State Farm Stadium yesterday was just the latest example. And Erica Kirk's mercy was one of the greatest acts of grace this world has ever seen.
Hold on, let's pause that. They said her grace was one of the kindest acts that the world has ever seen. How many of y'all think that she really meant when she said that she forgives the person that took away her husband? She said, I forgive you. I was sitting over here like, ain't no way, man. I ain't gonna lie. I even typed in my own chat and said, yeah, right. She don't forgive him. They want the unalive penalty for this guy. That's not forgiving. You know what I'm saying? That's most definitely pushing it to the limit. I don't blame her, though. If she forgave him, she forgave him. It's just my opinion. If somebody took my loved one away, I don't know if I'd be able to find it in my heart to forgive him. But if she forgave him and she truly meant what she said, more power to her. But I think she just said that because that was the right thing to say. What y'all think? Let me know in the chat. Make sure y'all double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button. It helps out the channel. Or you can click those 3 dots to hit it. But most definitely let me know what you think about that in the comments.
May God continue to watch over Erica and their beautiful children. Unfortunately, there have been some jarring exceptions to this unity. This past Friday, 58 House Democrats voted no, and 38 voted present on a resolution that simply stated, condemning in the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charles James Kirk and all forms of political violence. There were no strings attached to this vote. This was a simple gesture of human decency to denounce political violence. I wish I could say that
She said there was no strings attached to that vote. I'm just saying.
Was only a fringe group, but 96 votes is nearly half of the entire House Democrat caucus. And they didn't just vote against this basic resolution condemning political violence. A number of those same Democrats took to the House floor to smear Charlie Kirk's name. The man wasn't even buried yet, and Democrat members of Congress were denigrating his memory on the floor of the House of Representatives.
And that's another thing that touched people. Using your political power to silence the people. What's going on with this freedom of speech thing, guys? It's looking like the freedom of speech is not so free anymore, guys. They are censoring people left and right. You can't express how you feel exactly, especially when it comes to Charlie Kirk's situation. Anybody that's been speaking out that holds a substantial position of power is being canceled, guys. They got Jimmy Kimmel up out of here. You know, teachers, firefighters, police officers. If they speak out against Charlie Kirk, they losing their jobs. What is freedom of speech? What is freedom about that? I'm just saying. I'm just pointing out some things. Let's go.
This was truly a sad moment and a clear reflection of how radical the Democrat Party has become.
I hear them. They say, I seen somebody type consequences. You right about that. I tell people all the time, you got the right to say whatever you want. But then again, you can't, people are going to take it however they want. So there is consequences for every action. But man, it don't seem like freedom of speech is it don't seem like it's free no more.
Many Democrats in elective office have now been totally captured by a radical fringe of the far left base who want to dehumanize every person they disagree with. We must continue to call this wickedness out. It's the only way that our nation can heal. For too long, past leaders have offered platitudes while political violence has been allowed to fester and harm innocent Americans. There has been coordinated campaigns dating back years, spearheaded by radical left-wing organizations centered on dehumanizing, intimidating, doxing, and even attacking Americans whom they disagree with. These groups have radicalized impressionable individuals to foment violence. An attempted transgender assassin traveled to Justice Brett Kavanaugh's family home.
They say, nah, they don't get to take it how they want. Kimmel was coasting them 14 mil, and more watched him. Okay, freedom of speech is not the same as freedom from consequences. I see y'all down there. I see y'all.
With plans to end his life. An attempted assassin came within an inch of ending President Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania, and on the campaign trail, another attempted assassin tried to kill the president at his golf club in Florida. A left-wing assassin shot United Healthcare CEO Bryant Thompson right in the back in the heart of New York City. ICE agents are facing a more than 1,000% increase in assaults for simply doing their jobs. Violent radical left-wing mobs engaged in illegal behavior, targeted Jewish Americans, and shut down America's college campuses under the previous administration. Left-wing mobs burned down Tesla dealerships out of, quote, protest of Elon Musk and his policies. In May, a left-wing activist shouting "Free Palestine" murdered 2 innocent Israeli embassy staffers outside of the D.C. Jewish Museum here in Washington. These are just a few examples, prominent examples, of the growing left-wing political violence in our country. Enough is enough, and as President Trump has promised, he will directly address the dark sources funding and supporting this domestic terrorism to finally restore order in our country. The American people can expect further, very strong action on this very soon. Everyone, Republican, Democrat, everyone in between, We all deserve to live in a country where we do not have to fear for our lives simply for stating what we believe in. With that, I will take your question. In today's new media seat, we have Monica Page, who is the White House
Well, people are losing their jobs about speaking about what they believe in. I'm just saying.
Correspondent for Turning Point USA's news organization on the front lines. Monica, thank you for being here. We're so sorry for the loss of Charlie. I know you work for him, you were very close to him, and we appreciate your being in the new media seat and also your commitment to covering the White House. You are here every day, just like the rest of everyone in this room. So why don't you kick us off today?
Thank you so much, Caroline. I don't think you realize how much it means to me to be here in this seat, especially on behalf of Turning Point USA and Frontlines. We greatly appreciate it. We also greatly appreciate the outpouring of support and just really kind words that we heard yesterday at the memorial service. That means more to us than I don't think anybody ever knows. Even the global support that we're seeing for Charlie has been overwhelming, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you so much.
Can we please take time to click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up, y'all? Get the likes up.
I have 3 questions, if I may, on the horrific murder of Charlie Kirk. Government and local officials said that Antifa inscriptions were engraved in these bullet casings that killed Charlie Kirk. It appears to be a trend, especially after what we saw in the Annunciation Church shooting, Catholic Church shooting. Additionally, Stephen Miller recently commented on the rise in this kind of violence, saying there is a domestic terrorist movement growing in this country. The president is designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. I'm wondering what is the approach to holding these people accountable, just to ensure that violence like this just is eradicated moving forward.
Sure. Well, Antifa is going to be designated a domestic terrorist organization. The president intends to sign that executive order very soon as it's drafted, as soon as today.
All right, so let me know this. What is Antifa, guys? I've been wondering, I've been looking around, I can't find. Somebody in the chat tell me what exactly Antifa is. You know, I've been hearing a lot about Antifa and them being labeled a terrorist organization. What is Antifa, guys? Let me know. Somebody in the comment section down there, let me know what that is.
Later this afternoon. And this is something the president campaigned on because we have seen a rise in violence perpetuated by Antifa radical people across this country who subscribe to this group. And unfortunately, it's gone widely uncovered by many in the legacy media. It also went completely ignored by the previous administration. Not anymore. Not only, as you mentioned, were the bullet casings subscribed with Antifa mottos, if you will, in the heinous assassination of Charlie, but there have also been more examples that I could read off for you here in this briefing room today of violence from Antifa. I will just read a few. In July 2025, several members of an Antifa cell ambushed and opened fire.
Yeah, I see what y'all said. Thank y'all for that information, man. I've been wondering for the longest, like, man, what in the world is Antifa? And then I go look for it, I can't never find it. But thank y'all for letting me know exactly what it is, man. Shout out to y'all. Okay, bet. We on track now.
On officers at an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, shooting one officer in the neck. Also in July 2025, 3 Antifa members were charged with assaulting a police officer during a violent riot outside an ICE facility in Portland, which for weeks prior had been under siege from the local Antifa terror cell. In February 2024, a transgender Antifa terrorist detonated an explosive device outside of the office of the Republican Attorney General of Alabama. In July 2023, Antifa members linked to abortionist group Jane's Revenge firebombed pro-life facilities and vandalized churches. In January 2022, a suspected Antifa member was arrested for bringing a pipe bomb to a pro-Trump event. In January 2021, an Antifa supporter threatened to shoot police officers and Trump supporters outside of the Florida State Capitol building. Again, I could continue to list many more examples for those in the room who don't believe this is a serious threat to American safety and our national security, but this administration knows that it is. That's why the president will be signing this order. And we will also be, most importantly, looking at who is funding Antifa and who is funding these other violent left-wing groups that we...
Shout out to Wilbur, you know what I'm saying, for that thumbs up. Appreciate you, big dog. Feel free to send your boy gifts. They most definitely appreciate it. Shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure y'all take time to click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. We exercise the Fair Use Act of 1976 on all videos played. These are for news reporting and educational purposes only.
Seen perpetuate so much crime and mayhem across our country.
Thank you. And Charlie Kirk died exercising his First Amendment right, willingly debating, conversing with everybody and anybody. That was what he did. So what message does this White House have now to all Americans who feel like they are too afraid to express their beliefs, their values, their morals in the wake of such horrific violence?
I think the president has answered this, and I will leave it to his response, Monica, where he so beautifully said, we have to keep fighting. We have to keep speaking up. We have to keep speaking our mind. I know that's what Charlie would want us to do. And we have a right to free speech in this country. The president supports it. It is protected.
I see somebody down there type, we are Charlie Kirk. Man, there was a lot of people that was upset about people saying that. They were saying they not Charlie Kirk. I'm just saying.
Our beautiful Constitution, and Americans should not cower in fear. They should rise up in courage to continue speaking the truth.
And on a lighter note, Caroline, sure. I'd love to know what your favorite memory of Charlie is.
Sure. Charlie was a great guy, and he was, of course, a very influential person in the conservative movement, in the MAGA movement. He was so helpful to the president during the campaign and to all of us who worked on that campaign, that historic campaign. I myself had many great memories going on Charlie's amazing podcast and his show. He was always willing to text people with words of encouragement. In fact, my last text exchange with him was the day before he died.
Somebody said comedians don't have freedom of speech in Trump America. Like, yeah, they got rid of Jimmy Kimmel. You know, yeah, it's a lot of people, man. They getting rid of firefighters, doctors, lawyers, teachers, all type of people for voicing their opinion on Charlie Kirk, man. The American people most definitely feel like they are being silenced when it comes to this situation. What do y'all think?
He was asking for my husband and I's address to send a children's book to our son. And I think that just speaks to the type of person that he was. And I know so many of us here at the White House are going to miss him very much.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you. Gabe.
Carolyn, thank you. Regarding the autism announcement,
sure.
Why now? Does the administration have new data that hasn't...
So they talking about the autism situation, guys. Right now, she finna talk about it. And in a second, we going live where Trump is to hear him talk about it.
Been published previously showing a possible link between acetaminophen and autism.
I know there's been many reports about what this announcement at 4 o'clock will be, Gabe. The president is very excited about this, so I don't want to scoop the president of the United States and our Secretary of Health and Human Services, but what I can assure you is that Robert F. Kennedy and the incredible health team that this president has put together are really viewing things in a much different lens, and they are paying attention to studies and the gold standard of science and research that many in this city for far too long have turned a blind eye to. So I think Americans are going to be enlightened and proud of what they hear later this afternoon, but I won't get ahead of the president on exactly what that announcement entails.
On a different topic, going back to the president's social media post from over the weekend regarding the DOJ and his seeming frustration that they hadn't taken action quickly enough. I want to point to something that the president said during his inaugural address. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. We will not allow that to happen. Is the president going back on his promise?
They said they're not going to announce a cure. Somebody down there said they're going to say that Tylenol causes autism, allegedly.
No. In fact, the president is fulfilling his promise to restore a Department of Justice that demands accountability. And it is not weaponizing the Department of Justice to demand accountability for those who weaponized the Department of Justice. And nobody knows what that looks like more than President Trump. We are not going to tolerate gaslighting from anyone in the media or from anyone on the other side who is trying to say that it's the president who is weaponizing.
Marcus, no, you're not in timeout. I can see you, man.
The DOJ. It was Joe Biden and his attorney general who weaponized the DOJ. Joe Biden used this sacred American institution to go after his political opponent in the middle of an election year. And you look at people like Adam Schiff and like James Comey and like Letitia James, who the president is rightfully frustrated. He wants accountability for these corrupt fraudsters who abused their power, who abused their oath of office to target the former president and then candidate for the highest office in the land. And I think the president is reaffirmed in those frustrations and his hope for accountability by the millions and millions of people who reelected him to this office with a mandate to demand accountability. And the president has not been shy about this, Gabe. In fact, when he traveled to the Department of Justice earlier this year, all of you were there to cover it. He said, quote, "I demand a full and complete accountability for wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people gave a mandate to investigate and root the corruption out of our system." And that's what the president wants to see done.
Carolyn.
Ed.
On the autism issue again, there are dreams.
Trump has sparked the minds of the American people. Everybody wants to know, what is this autism speech that he's about to give in a minute, man? I don't know, man. Maybe they found the cure. Maybe not. I'm just saying. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing, y'all. I'm just guessing.
The scientific research that suggests there's no clear link between autism and acetaminophen usage. You're suggesting today they may have new information on this. A lot of it, and this entire debate, has the potential to confuse women, especially pregnant women, about what to do. What do you say to those that say what you're doing today potentially just introduces more confusion into the debate?
I think women for many years, in fact for decades, Ed, have been confused by the rapid increase in autism in this country, in the childhood epidemic that is chronic epidemic, disease epidemic that is plaguing America's youth. Women are confused about that and they want answers to that. And that's exactly what this administration is focused on finding. And before you jump to conclusions based on reports that the White House has not even confirmed, I would encourage everyone in this room to go into the 4 o'clock announcement with some critical thinking skills and with some open ears to actually listen to what the president and his team of outsiders have to say about this. And
we will most definitely be there, guys. We're gonna go there as soon as they start talking. We in the building, man. We're gonna see exactly what it is that Trump got to say about with this autism speech he's about to give.
Be a number of things that will be announced and discussed. And I think I know, as a mother myself, I speak, I believe, for many mothers across the country who really want answers to what is happening to our nation's children. So again, I won't get ahead of the president, but I think everyone in this room needs to tone down the judgment before you even hear what people are going to say. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. So too, on the Holman investigation, I mean, can you just speak to the president?
She said, do not judge. You know, hold your thoughts until you hear exactly what it is that they gotta say. And we going there, man. We need to get the likes up, though. Click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is Everything News, and we most definitely gonna get to the bottom of this, man.
Ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Holman have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Holman never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Holman did absolutely nothing wrong, and even the president's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI.
Oh, Tom Homan, that's who she's talking about, the border czar. Yeah, he is very hands-on with this situation, with this mass deportation and these raids. A lot of people are upset with Tom Homan right now.
I looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this. They found zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing. In the White House and the president stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down the border. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have 2 questions on the far-left violence.
Sure.
The first one, the president said yesterday that...
Oh, yeah, which brings me to Kash Patel, guys. Did y'all see him and Jasmine Crockett go at it? She told Kash Patel that he was one of the least qualified people to lead the FBI. I said, wow.
Well, it hit Charlie, but it was aimed at every one of us. Do you and your colleagues have a heightened sense of fear following this shooting and this far-left violence we're seeing across the country?
I certainly think there's a heightened sense of awareness by conservatives across the country, by all of us here at the White House. Again, as I said to Monica, many of us were personal friends with Charlie and had involvement with Turning Point before we came and served our government in this way. So certainly it's a very shocking incident, and I think, it's very unfortunate that those of us who work in this movement have to think about violence just for speaking our minds and for supporting President Trump.
As a follow-up on that, I asked the president last night on Air Force One about this pattern of transgender violence we're seeing. Charlie's killer lived with his boyfriend who identifies as transgender, and then we had the Annunciation shooting, the Covenant shooting, all of these incidents. The president said that we're looking into transgender violence. Does that mean the FBI is looking into it? And can you give any more clarity on how the administration is viewing this uptake in specifically transgender violence?
It's definitely something worth looking into, and I think anyone who denies that at this point...
Hold up, we got 1,500 people in the building, guys. We only got 185 likes. Please take time to click those 3 dots that's in the right-hand corner and hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. Get the likes up. Subscribe if you're new.
Is being willfully ignorant, and the administration is taking it seriously, all causes of violence, and why these people would be driven to such evil and such hatred. And there's probably many answers to that question, but the administration is really focused on all of them. For individual investigations and cases, of course, the FBI and the Department of Justice are leading those. But as for this overall violence and domestic terrorism that we're seeing, the White House and the president's policy team will be leading the charge, and that really begins with designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. And I can assure you there will be additional actions to come.
Sure, in the pink. Thanks, Caroline. Liz Landers with PBS NewsHour. I just wanted to follow up quickly on something that the president had said yesterday. So we heard from Erica Kirk. She said she forgives the man who shot and killed her husband. And then right after...
I just don't believe that she forgives that man. That's just my personal view. I just think that was something that she said because it sounded good. But the look in her eyes when she kept on saying, that man. I didn't get forgiveness from that. I got that man took her husband away. That man deserves to get the unalive penalty. That man, deserves everything that he got coming. Not, I forgive that man. I didn't get that. That's just me.
After that, we heard from the president who said, I hate my opponent and I don't want the best for them. How does that square with bringing down the temperature of political violence in this country? And then, if I could, I had a follow-up on Venezuela, too.
Look, the president is authentically himself. I think that's why millions of Americans across the country love him and support him, including Erica Kirk, who you saw so beautifully was on stage with the president in an unthinkable moment, in the midst of an unthinkable tragedy, and was leaning on the president for support during that time. And he was there to give it to her, as well as the vice president and many other top-ranking cabinet officials. Kayla.
Thanks, Caroline. On TikTok, the deal. How much is the deal? And if you can't give an exact number to how much the deal is, when can we expect to learn how much the deal is being valued at? And then separately, who are the members involved in the deal? Like, can you share any more details there?
So I don't have a specific number for you, nor am I going to confirm the specific individuals and entities in the deal, Kayla, but I do have several details I'm happy to run through for all of you, and the president will be signing the deal, the official deal, later this week at some point. Under the terms of this deal, TikTok will be owned by a majority of American investors and controlled by a board of directors with extensive national security and cybersecurity credentials in partnership.
Somebody down there said she lies with ease, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? Y'all think she lying? Maybe she's just reading what she's supposed to read. She's just doing her job, guys.
With the U.S. government, Oracle will serve as TikTok's trusted security provider, and they will independently monitor the safety and data security of all U.S. user data on TikTok's platform. Americans' data will be stored securely in the United States without access from China. All U.S. user data will be stored on servers operated by Oracle in the United States, protected from surveillance or interference by foreign adversaries. And the algorithm, I know this is a question many of you have had, will be secured, retrained, and operated in the United States outside of ByteDance's control. And TikTok will remain globally interoperable, meaning TikTok users in the U.S. will be able to see videos posted by users in other countries. And
all right, that's another thing. The TikTok situation. They've been trying to get rid of TikTok, but for some reason, Trump keeps TikTok around, guys. They said that they found a company to monitor TikTok, and it ain't going nowhere. That was the latest report that I seen when it comes to TikTok.
Vice versa. While I don't have a number on the specific deal, we do expect that thanks to the president's leadership and the securement of this historic deal, businesses using TikTok will generate as much as $178 billion in economic activity within the U.S. over the next 4 years. So this is great news, not just for the millions of American youth who use TikTok. Their data will be safe and secure with this new deal.
All right, I see my moderators down there telling people stop spamming the chat. Do not spam the chat or you will be put in timeout. It's okay to voice your opinion, but I'm pretty sure we see it the first time you type it. You don't have to spam the chat, guys.
They'll continue to use this very fun app. But it's also great news for all of the small business owners who have really been able to make a living off of the use of TikTok as well.
And if I could just get one more as it relates to China, on crop prices with farmers, as there's still no official trade deal with China, farmers are getting a little bit antsy navigating prices being weak and not strong. How is the administration, thinking about farmers right now? Is there anything we can expect to see from the administration on, sort of bailing farmers out should prices continue to not work in their favor?
Well, the administration is completely understands the anxiety of farmers. We're very much aware of this issue. It has been a part of our discussions, the trade team's discussions with their Chinese counterparts. As for any specific actions, I don't have any news on that for you today, but I can fully assure you the entire National Economic Council in this building, as well as our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, have been talking with the trade team about this. There's been many meetings on this, and they are on the ball, but I don't have anything specific for you today. Sure, Selena.
Thanks, Caroline. But the case against Letitia James was extensively investigated for 5 months, and President Trump's handpicked Attorney General Eric Siebert could not find any evidence that he committed a crime. So is the president saying here it doesn't matter if there's a crime, he just wants his political enemies to be charged?
Well, let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization, and an appeals court tossed that case out, a $500 million civil fraud penalty in August, which was another win for the president and exonerated him of this witch hunt and showed that this is an individual who is corrupt and abused her oath of office. And we also have evidence of her mortgage fraud. An April report from a white-collar fraud investigator found that there was documented evidence that James engaged in a consistent pattern of financial and property disclosures that raise serious legal questions.
But why won't the president accept the conclusions of his Justice Department to not bring charges against Letitia James? In fact, you had Bondi and Blanche top DOJ leadership who were against ousting Eric Siebert, who again was picked by President Trump.
I just answered that question for you, and the president has every right to express how he feels about these people who literally campaigned.
And I was speaking on Jimmy Kimmel, guys. I got an update for y'all on that too. You're gonna be shocked.
On trying to put him in jail, who literally tried to ruin his life and ruin his businesses, and he wants to see accountability for those who abuse their office and abuse their power. And Letitia James absolutely did that, whether you want to admit it or not.
Is that not retribution, though?
Jeff, it's accountability.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 foreign policy questions. President Putin has offered President Trump a 1-year extension of the latest, for the most recent treaty limiting nuclear weapons. Does the White House have a reaction to that? Does the president want to accept that offer? And then one separate issue, just generally, what is the president's response or reaction to the number of countries this week who are planning to or have recognized a Palestinian state?
Two great questions, Jeff. To your first question about Russia, the president is aware of this offer extended by President Putin, and I'll let him comment on it later. I think it sounds pretty good, but he wants to make some comments on that himself, and I will let him do that. As for all of these Western nations that are recognizing a Palestinian state, the president has been very clear. He disagrees with this decision. He spoke about that in the UK, standing right next to his friend, Prime Minister Starmer, and he feels this does not do anything to release the hostages, which is the primary goal right now in Gaza, does nothing to end this conflict and bring this war to a close. And frankly, he believes it's a reward to Hamas. So he believes these decisions are just more talk and not enough action from some of our friends and allies. And I think you'll hear him talk about that tomorrow at the UN. Kristen.
Thanks, Ryan. Just going back to the Tisha James story. What does President Trump plan to do if the...
Shout out to that for the $2. It says PSYOP 33 hours, CBC, whatever that adds up to 33. Okay, I bet. Appreciate you, big dog. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you for that too. Feel free to super chat, super sticker, send me a gift, whatever. Any little bit helps, guys. Shout out to everybody that supports this channel.
Attorney General Pam Bondi tells him that there is not enough evidence to bring his political opponents' cases or to charge those cases.
That's a hypothetical question, Kristen. That hasn't happened at this point.
But we did see one U.S. attorney not be able to find enough evidence, and now they no longer have a job. Is that something that you would consider?
Look, the president stands with Pam Bondi 100%. He made that clear this weekend. He answered questions from all of you last night on Air Force One. He said the same, and that's how he feels at this moment in time.
Just one more thing on the Attorney General.
Go ahead.
What's up, Jay Mitch?
Would the president support designating Russia as a sponsor of terrorism if it does return kidnapped Ukrainian children? And secondly, we just found out through questioning that Hunter Biden sat in on discussions of his pardons. What's the White House response to that?
Unfortunately, I think it's unsurprising, and it's also very telling that one of the only pardons Joe Biden signed on his way out the door was the pardon of his son. Everything else was signed with an auto pen, but that one was clearly his own signature. To your first question about Russia, I have no news to share with you on that. Sure, in the yellow.
According to media reports, Maduro has sent a letter to President Trump, but President Trump avoided saying whether he has read it. Did he receive it?
We have seen this letter. Frankly, I think there were a lot of lies that were repeated by Maduro in that letter, and the administration's position on Venezuela has not changed. We view the Maduro regime as illegitimate, and the president has clearly shown that he's willing to use any and all means necessary to stop the illegal trafficking of deadly drugs from the Venezuelan regime into the United States of America.
Context of the letter?
Gilbertson, go ahead. Oh, to you and then go ahead. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Whitline with Borderhawk News. The admin has openly discussed taking legal...
Philip, hang around for a couple seconds. I got an announcement for you on Jimmy Kimmel. You're going to be shocked.
...action against officials in sanctuary jurisdictions. Just this last weekend, we saw Mayor of Evanston, Daniel Bliss, rioting and protesting outside of an ICE facility near Chicago. Are there plans to start arresting sanctuary mayors or governors going forwards?
Unless they commit a crime, I don't see them being arrested. But if they are violating federal law, if they are violating state law, then of course they should be arrested by state and local law enforcement. If they're violating federal law, then they can expect the consequences of that behavior. Nick.
Thank you, Caroline. Would the president like to see Congress pass a national holiday honoring Charlie Kirk annually?
That's an interesting question. I'm sure he wouldn't oppose such a thing. But you can pose that to him yourself next time you get the chance.
Sure thing. And to follow up, too, I know the president is honoring Charlie with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Is there anything else that we don't know of in the works to honor Charlie?
Not at this time, but we do look forward to that Medal of Freedom ceremony very soon. Daniel.
Thanks, Caroline. This past Friday...
Dang, is that serious? Somebody said it's the end of the U.S. as we know it. Lord, have mercy. What's up, Brenda?
Shift, Tim Kaine, they introduced a resolution on Capitol Hill aimed at stopping the successful kinetic strikes against narco-terrorists in the Caribbean Sea. What does a move like this what type of message does it send to families, specifically families who have suffered at the hands of deadly narco drugs like these?
I definitely think it sends the wrong message. We wish that Democrats would get on board with a very simple idea of ending drug trafficking and securing our homeland. And I saw a report this morning that the Dominican Republic...
The war on narcotics has been going on for years and years and years. You stop one, another one comes in. I don't think they'll ever be able to stop it completely. I'm just being honest.
Public actually helped us seize a boat that was on its way from Venezuela to the United States of America with lots of deadly drugs on board. And so if you actually hear from Caribbean nations in the region, they are thankful and grateful for the administration's efforts, and they're working alongside us to end this plague of drug trafficking through their seas. Sure, Karen.
Over the weekend, Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries sent a letter to the White House asking for a meeting with the president to talk about government funding. Has the White House responded to that letter?
At 300 likes, man, I'll put y'all on game about Jimmy Kimmel. All you got to do is click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, man. Click the three dots, hit the thumbs up. Big announcement about Jimmy Kimmel, guys.
Will the president sit down with them to talk about this, given that deadline is now 8 days away?
Discussions are ongoing with both Republican and Democratic members of Capitol Hill. I don't have any meetings or any scheduling updates for you today, but what I will share is that what this White House wants and what Republicans want, we want a clean funding extension to keep the government open. That's all we're advocating for, a simple, clean budget extension, a straightforward, responsible solution to keep the government open to November 21st and allow the full year appropriations process to move forward. And I will add, this is the same budget that the Democrats approved 6 months ago, just adjusted for inflation. And unfortunately, all of a sudden now, they want to shut down the government. And if the government is shut down, it's only going to, it will be the fault of the Democrats, and it will only hurt the most vulnerable in our country, our seniors, our veterans, our military families, and increasing security for members of Congress, which is something this White House and the administration supports. And if you look back at the statements made by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries in the past, they too have advocated against a shutdown and for keeping the government open. Democrat Chuck Schumer himself said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. He said once, avoiding a shutdown is very good news for the country, for our veterans, for parents and children, for farmers, and for small businesses. Hakeem Jeffries also said it's about the harm. Families will be hurt if there is a government shutdown. Farmers will be hurt. Holiday travel will be impacted. Democrats clearly know what the right thing to do is here. It's to join with Republicans to pass this clean funding extension. That's what the White House and the president wants. And with that, we will see you all at 4 o'clock for this big announcement later on. Thanks, guys.
All right, so at 4 o'clock, you know what I'm saying, it's 3:45 my time. So in about 15 minutes, Trump will be taking the podium. But until then, guys, let's get to Jimmy Kimmel, guys. Let's get to, we all heard about Jimmy Kimmel being canceled. You know, Disney pulling the show off the air due to his insensitive joke that he made, or views and opinions about Charlie Kirk, guys. Well, it seems like the American people have spoken. There has been enough outrage, enough of an uproar, basically we looking at Trump over here live. He's about to go. Okay, we'll wait on Jimmy Kimmel in a second. Let's get to Trump, guys. Big announcement. Let's go.
Thank you very much. So I've been waiting for this meeting for 20 years, actually. And it's not that everything's 100% understood or known, but I think we've made a lot of strides. Wish it was done a long time ago. Today we're delighted to be joined by America's top medical and public health professionals as we announce historic steps to confront the crisis of autism. Horrible, horrible crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from. And he and I don't know, the word got out, and I wouldn't say that people were very understanding of where we were, but it's turning out that we understood a lot more than a lot of people who studied it, we think. And I say we think because I don't think they were really letting the public know what they knew. Thanks as well to the director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary. These are great people. Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Acting Assistant Secretary of HHS, Dr. Dorothy Fink. So thank you all. Thank you, Dorothy, very much. The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. So that's not a long time. And I've always heard, you know, they say a few, but I think it's a lot less time than that. It used to be 1 in 20,000, then 1 in 10,000. And I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31, but in some areas it's much worse than that, if you can believe it, 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. I was told that's in California where they have for some reason, a more severe problem. But whether it's 1 in 12 or 1 in 31, can you imagine? That's down from 1 in 20,000 and 1 in 10,000. And now we're at the level of 1 in 12 in some cases for boys. 1 in 31 overall. So since 2000, autism rates have surged by much more than 400%. Instead of attacking those who ask questions, everyone should be grateful for those who are trying to get the answers to this complex situation. And the first day all of these great doctors behind me were there, I told them this is what we have to find out. Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000 and then you go to 12, you know there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. That have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say.
We know you ain't,
You have
Trump.
certain groups. The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism. First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol.
What?
During
Tylenol?
pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Wow.
So taking Tylenol
Somebody said that earlier.
is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever, that you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do.
They say Tylenol, guys.
A Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. Can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it. And you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire, and you shouldn't give the child the Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally you don't take it at all, but if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it. The other thing that I can tell you that I'll say that they will maybe say at a little bit later date, But I think when you go for the shot, you do it over a 5-time period. Take it over 5 times or 4 times, but you take it in smaller doses and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby loaded up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times. I've been so into this issue for so many years just because I couldn't understand how a thing like this could happen. And it's artificially induced. It's not like something that, when you go from all of those, healthy babies to a point where I don't even know structurally if a country can afford it. And that's the least of the problems. To have families destroyed over this is just so terrible. I also, and we've already done this, we want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel, the mumps, measles, and the 3 should be taken separately. And it seems to be that when you mix them, there could be a problem. So there's no downside in taking them separately. In fact, they think it's better, so let it be separate. The chicken pox is already separate, because when that got mixed in, I guess they made it for a while, it really was bad. So they make chicken pox. Individually, they're okay. When you mix them, something maybe happens. So there's no downside in doing it. It's not like, if you do it, bad things. No, it's only good side. And it may not have that much of an impact, but it may have a big impact. So let those be taken separately. And then hepatitis B is sexually transmitted.
What's up, Gina?
There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think if you do those things, it's going to be a whole different, it's going to be a revolution in a positive sense in the country. The FDA will be updating the label of an existing drug to reflect potential benefits in reducing some autism symptoms. This gives hope to the many parents with autistic children that it may be possible to improve their lives. That's one of the things that I'm very, very happy about. I mean, this was mostly going to be on how not to have the child affected, but we've learned some pretty good things about certain elements of genius that can be given to a baby, and
Tylenol,
the baby can get better. And in some cases,
he said Tylenol, some of the shots, most definitely lead to autism, guys.
Be a lot easier if it didn't happen in the first place.
That's what Trump says, and his experts.
Parents fully understand, right? They fully understand. I feel so terribly for. I have so many friends with autistic children. It's a tough situation. Finally, to help reach the ultimate goal of ending the autism fever, the NIH will be announcing 13 major grant awards from the Autism Data Science Initiatives. And to be honest with you, to me, that's the least important. It's not even a money thing at this point. There's so much money, but they have to do, and they have to move quickly. When the alternative is that nothing bad can happen, let's do it now. I was just saying to Bobby and the group, let's do it now. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one, because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils and others, right? And they've been proven bad. So I'd like to ask Bobby to get up to the podium and say a few words, and then Dr. Bhattacharya and Dr. McCary, Dr. Oz, Dr. Fink, followed by two incredible mothers that have experienced firsthand what this country is going through, what parts of the world are going through. And I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism. Okay, tell me about that one.
12 months.
And there are other parts of the world where they don't have Tylenol, where they don't have
by hitting that like
autism. That tells you a lot. And I want to say it right now. And you know the way I look at it, don't take it. Don't take it. There's no downside in not taking it. So I'd like to ask Bobby to come up and say a few words. I hope I didn't ruin his day, but that's the way I feel. I've been very strong on this subject for a long time. You know, life is common sense too. And there's a lot of common sense in this, and I wish things like this were brought up, and this group has worked so hard on it, but I'd like to be a little bit more, a little speedier in the process of a recommendation, because there's no harm in going quicker. There's absolutely no harm. At worst, there's no harm. Thank you very much. Bobby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You need to get somebody
to meet the
to speak
President's
for
challenge, I ordered HHS to launch an unprecedented all-agency effort to identify all causes of autism, including toxic and pharmaceutical exposures. At President Trump's urging, NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS are turning over every stone to identify the etiology of the autism epidemic and how patients and parents can prevent and reverse this alarming trend. We have broken down the traditional silos that have long separated these agencies, and we have fast-tracked research and guidance. Historically, NIH has focused almost solely on politically safe and entirely fruitless research about the genetic drivers of autism. And that would be like studying the genetic drivers of lung cancer without looking at cigarettes. And that's what NIH has been doing for 20 years. As a result, we don't have an answer to this critical question, despite the cataclysmic impact of the epidemic on our nation's children. We are now replacing the institutional culture of political.
Yeah, I think he should have somebody read all his speeches for him, and he just stand beside them and make sure they saying the right stuff.
Currently testing multiple hypotheses with no area off limits. We promise transparency as we uncover the potential causes and treatments, and we will notify the public regularly of our progress. Today, we are announcing two important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development. We have also evaluated the contrary studies that show no association. Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required. Furthermore, thanks to the politicization of science, the safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity. Some studies have also found the use of acetaminophen in children can potentially prolong viral illnesses. FDA will drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. In addition to a possible acetaminophen connection to autism for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, our research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism. We have also identified an exciting therapy that may benefit large numbers of children who suffer from autism. Peer-reviewed literature has documented that up to 60% of folate-deficient children with ASD can have improved verbal communications if given leucovorin. I have instructed NIH, FDA, and CMS to help doctors treat children appropriately. Jay will help tell that story, which started with sound science, the kind that restores faith in government.
Thank you, Libra.
This announcement also represents a historic collaboration between NIH, FDA, CDC, and CMS. We expect this to be the first of many announcements over the coming years that deliver actionable information to parents on underlying cause of autism and the potential paths for prevention and reversal.
Man, I wish they'd let somebody else speak for him, man. I swear to God.
Disorder with multifactorial etiology. We are continuing to investigate a multiplicity of potential causes with no areas of taboo. One area that we are closely examining, as the president mentioned, is vaccines. Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. Some of our friends like to say that we should believe all women. But some of these same people have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades because research on the potential link between autism and vaccines has been actively suppressed in the past. It will take time for an honest look at this topic by scientists. But I want to reassure the people in the autism community that we will be uncompromising and relentless in our search for answers. We will perform the studies that should have been performed 25 years ago. Whatever the answer is, we will tell you what we find. We are researching this issue to all 3 agencies.
I understand that he may have a disease or something that's wrong. I'm not saying that it's something wrong with that. What I'm saying is, knowing that he has the disease or whatever is going on with him, he should just write the speech and let somebody else speak it so we can understand what's being said.
Will be a model for the framework to deliver similar
That's all I'm saying.
For many other chronic conditions that plague Americans. Okay?
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy, and thank you, President Trump.
Thank you very much.
I'm proud to announce today that the NIH has launched the Autism Data Science Initiative to turbocharge autism research, devoting an additional $50 million to the cause of studying autism. Nearly 250 research teams from across the country applied, sent in their applications, and were peer-reviewed by the NIH review panels. The NIH peer reviewers chose the 13 best projects focused on root causes and therapies, with replication and validation studies to guarantee gold standard science. The studies feature a new kind of science called exposomics, where scientists consider environmental and medical factors, nutrition, events during pregnancy, in combination with biology and genetics to answer vital questions about autism. Science like this, conducted in partnership with families and physicians, is the best way to arrest and reverse the autism epidemic. Autism spectrum disorder encompasses a very wide range of symptoms, ranging from mild difficulties with
Alicia, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying I would rather somebody else speak it for him. I didn't say that his facts weren't valid or that you couldn't hear him. Hey, matter of fact, just calm down, woman.
Certain that there will be a wide range of biological contributors to explaining the cause. The great thing about the new NIH initiative on autism is that scientists will use rigorous, advanced methods in causal inference, machine learning, organoids, and other fresh approaches to the problem. The sharp rise in the prevalence of autism deserves an urgent response by the scientific community.
We're going to slur you right up out my
chat. As Bobby said, the NIH has invested a lot of money to study autism over the years. but the research has not produced the answers that families and parents of autistic children deserve, and autistic children themselves deserve. For too long, it's been taboo to ask some questions for fear that scientific work might reveal a politically incorrect answer. Because of this restricted focus in scientific investigations, the answers for families have been similarly restricted, often pointing families to behavioral therapies that don't work for every kid, or suggest non-modifiable genetic factors as the cause. But genetics alone can't explain such a sharp rise in autism prevalence over just a few decades, as the president said. In coming months and years, as NIH scientists learn more that can help autistic children and their families, we won't delay. Like scientists often like to do, I can say as a scientist myself, it's really tempting to delay, but but in face of a problem like this, you have to move fast. But we will not delay before telling American people about what we find, and we will win the public trust with transparency and rigor. Already, our broadened focus on autism research has pointed to 2 items that will help families prevent and treat some cases of autism. I'll leave the good news on these 2 items to my close friends and colleagues, Dr. McCary and Dr. Oz. We've been working together closely on this problem for the past 6 months, and our cooperation represents an unprecedented collaboration with Secretary Kennedy's Department of Health and Human Services and with President Trump. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Marty McCary, Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, who will tell you about these announcements of practical help for families with autism.
Great, thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. Mr. President, this is the start of a historic shift in medical culture. This administration is working together to ask big questions about why our nation's children are getting sick so fast. Too often, medicine is doing small little studies, giving us answers we already knew. But we've got to make a difference. You've given us a charge to identify root causes, and we're not going to stop so that we can end the suffering we are watching. And if you've seen a kid with autism, with severe autism, it's hard to watch. Kids get frustrated, they get angry, they can be crying because they want.
So what he's saying about people with children with autism, is that judging? No, he's making an observation and saying how he feels about it. The same way I just did about that dude that was just talking. So don't be giving me no flack about voicing my opinion on what he sound like.
Taking action to update the label on acetaminophen and sending a letter to all U.S. doctors letting them know about the risks in pregnancy. We now have data we cannot ignore. There's a very large study, the Boston Birth Cohort, with researchers that have, from Johns Hopkins, my former institution, and Boston University, found quote-unquote consistent associations between acetaminophen in pregnancy and autism. And the Nurses' Health Study with researchers from Yale, Columbia, and Harvard looking at 9,000 kids found that acetaminophen use in pregnancy was associated with neurodevelopmental disorders. And 4 weeks ago, a Mount Sinai Harvard study reviewed all the existing literature and found the overwhelming body of evidence points to an association. Sure, you'll be able to find a study to the contrary. That's how science works. But to quote the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, there is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. We cannot wait any longer. And honestly, there's been this perfunctory, reactionary, mindless practice in medicine. I learned it in medical school and residency. Just treat all fevers, low-grade fevers, treat them with acetaminophen. Why? What are we doing? A study out of Hopkins actually showed that treating a fever can prolong the duration of illness in a young kid. Maybe that's because a fever is a body's natural way of ridding an infection. When my wife was pregnant and delivered our son a few months ago, they pushed her to take acetaminophen for a low-grade fever. She said no, and then they looked to me and I said, absolutely no. I'm also here to announce good news. Today, the FDA is filing a Federal Register notice to change the label on an exciting treatment called prescription leucovorin so that it can be available to children with autism. You know, autism may also be due to an autoimmune reaction to a folate receptor on the brain, not allowing that important vitamin to get into the brain cells. It's a fairly established, mature pathway. Again, we have a duty to let doctors and the public know we are going to change the label to make it available. Hundreds of thousands of kids, in my opinion, will benefit. One study found that with kids with autism and chronic folate deficiency, 2/3 of kids with autism symptoms had improvement, and some marked improvement. Mr. President, you told us to do what's medically right, to go bold, and not worry about the corporations and the lobbyists. So that's what we're here doing today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Marty. I think you all appreciate the passion in the president's voice. We've been hearing that since the inauguration. In fact, even before the inauguration, the president was upset about what he spoke to today. And so together with Secretary Kennedy, who's made it his life's work to address some of these challenges with autism, they challenged us. In fact, they were harsher than that. They wanted no silos to break down what the NIH would do, what the FDA would do, what CMS would do. They insisted that the physician leaders bust through the clutter because their agencies had the power. If we didn't do what every other prior administration had done, which is to let people function within their siloed environments. Because of that, in historic fashion and a very accelerated manner, we have a response today to the autism crisis. It is the first of several chapters, but this is breaking news. You've heard some of it. The response to the autism crisis is going to continue to come to you under Secretary Kennedy's leadership, and the president wouldn't have it any other way, as you've heard. The FDA, based on NIH research, is approving prescription leucovorin for treatment of autistic children. Now, if you're following the script, there should be two questions that you have. Two questions that should come to your mind. The first is, how will patients and parents get access to the treatment? I'll tell you how. Over half of American children are covered by Medicaid and CHIP, government health insurance. Over half. Therefore, because they're covered in Medicaid and CHIP, upon this label change by Marty, state Medicaid programs in partnership with CMS will cover prescription leucovorin around the country. It's yours, but David? You have to go to a doctor to get a prescription because they know your child, they know you, and they know the medication. States will also have tools to monitor its use and ensure appropriate utilization. That's important for a bunch of reasons because we want the right kids getting the right prescription medications. We believe private insurance companies will rapidly follow our lead if they have not already done so. And again, to make sure that this is safe and effective treatment, you need a physician to prescribe the medication because it's on prescription. Second big question. How are we going to collect clinical data to answer the big questions that the president is asking and the secretary insists that we offer? CMS is also issuing guidance to convene states and existing research networks to support NIH and FDA in their research efforts on prescription leucovorin, while also maintaining the privacy of all patients, all health information of our beneficiaries. Collecting real-world data, which is what many of you have been asking us to do in the community, is fast. It is life-saving, and we'll get answers based on what happens over the next few months with this approach. The aggressive approach, and it is aggressive, demanded by the president and by the secretary, have already identified risk factors and opened the door for the first FDA-recognized treatment pathway for autism. It is the first of its kind, and it wouldn't have happened without the leadership of the president and the secretary. The five-fold increased prevalence of autism over the past 25 years demands a rapid response. The average clinician, researcher, we spoke to many, thought it would take 5 years to get this data. Parents are unwilling to wait 5 years. The president is unwilling to wait 5 years for these results. So the president and the secretary are acting today with this tri-agency move. The administration's bold actions investing in groundbreaking research follow the science. They restore trust, which has been lacking, and they will change the trajectory for millions of American families. Mr. President, God bless you for being brave. So let me introduce Dr. Fink, who's acting administrator, and after Dr. Fink, we've got some wonderful women, Jackie and Amanda. I know it's going to be tough, but if you can make some comments about this historic day, God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity to speak with all of you today. As a pediatrician and mom, I'm here today to talk about what this announcement means for the millions of moms and dads who are faced with the choice of whether to take acetaminophen during pregnancy. It's hard to hear information that challenges the status quo. We are sharing this information not to confuse, but to empower parents to make the best choices when taking medications during pregnancy. We are all concerned about the rising rates of neurodevelopmental disorders, including autism. President Trump and Secretary Kennedy are dedicated to radical transparency so that patients have the best, most up-to-date information. We are also sharing this information with our nation's doctors, and we encourage you, as always, to consult with your doctor to make the best decision for you. All too often, it's easy to think that medicines we buy without a prescription pose little to no risk for the mom or the baby. As you heard today, pregnant women who need high fever or pain reduction during pregnancy should take the lowest effective dose of acetaminophen for the shortest possible duration. Most women will not meet these indications during their pregnancies. I am encouraged by these developments today because it is another example of our commitment to the American people to leave no stone unturned in improving the health of our nation's children. Next, I'm going to turn it over to some incredible mothers who are going to share more about their stories, and we're so grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President and team, for all your work. This is an historic day, and I'm thankful to be here. I have a son who's 5, who is profoundly autistic, and you've probably heard if you've met one autistic child, you've met one autistic child. It's a spectrum, which I don't think the spectrum is helpful, but that's another conversation. He is an amazing little boy, a blessing from God. He's marvelous. He can count to 1,000. He knows all of his letters and the sounds they make and a word for each one. But he also has a lot of obstacles. He is nonverbal. He can say those numbers and letters, but there's no communication. Unless you've lived with profound autism, you have no idea. You have no idea. He, like you said, he will get frustrated because he can't speak. It's not even that he can't speak. Sometimes he just doesn't understand what I'm saying. He understands the word no, but he doesn't understand the why behind the no. And that's a huge part of discipline. That's the discipline. So it's very hard to discipline a child with autism so you have these behaviors. And it's a very hopeless feeling. It's very isolating being a parent with a profound autistic child. Even just taking them over to your friend's house is something we just don't do because, again, they're going to be met with no, 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 and no understanding of why. And then there's a meltdown. And then you're in a situation where you're just helpless and you're just trying to protect your kid. So it's just better not to do it. You learn your limits, and it's been really hard. This is amazing. So we're here today, and no one has been able to point to anything to say this is what caused it, and you can't point to that and say it didn't cause it. I have no idea. I am completely open, not blaming anything, but I'm open to the discussion and the fact that there's work being done to find answers. I'm very grateful. I was already excited to vote for Mr. Trump anyway, as president, but when we got word of RFK doing his work, I was ecstatic. I could not wait for this work to be done, that somebody would try to find us some answers. I'm just very grateful. I pray for my son every day and hope that he can get the help that he needs. And just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. You take care of yourself.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I'm also extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here and share my son's story.
Thank you, Libra.
My son is Eddie. He's 11. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum from what Amanda just explained. He's considered high functioning. He was not always high functioning. He was nonverbal till the age 4. We've had quite a hard time to get to the place where we are today. I am just so grateful to President Trump and the entire administration for finally listening to moms who have been crying out for help, for answers for years. I've met so many other moms with children on the spectrum in the 9 years since my son's diagnosis, and they all have very similar stories. And they've all just wanted somebody to listen, to not ridicule them or look at them like they were the crazy people. It's hard when you don't have doctors that take the time to really listen and find out when the change happened and what change happened. And it's just, I've been praying for this day for 9 years, and I'm so thankful to God for bringing the administration into our lives. And I'm speechless. This day is a day I never thought would happen. I thought that we would never have an administration that was courageous enough to look into things that no prior administration had. So I'm just here to express my gratitude, and I am looking forward to what comes from this, and hopefully we just get more answers. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So I just want to say acetaminophen is basically Tylenol, essentially, because I noticed that term is used throughout.
Tylenol.
So it's essentially Tylenol. And I just recommend strongly that you don't use Tylenol unless it's absolutely necessary. I understand it's maybe 10% of the women that are pregnant are, would perhaps be forced to use it. And that would mean you just can't tough it out. No matter what you do, you can't tough it out. So that's up to you and your doctor. But there's a very strong recommendation, maybe stronger from me than from the group, because they're waiting for certain studies. I just want to say it like it is. Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. If you just can't, it's fight like hell not to take it. There may be a point where you have to, and that you have to work out with yourself. So don't take Tylenol. Other things that we recommend, or certainly I do anyway, is, and it's so important to me to see the doctor 4 times or 5 times for a vaccine. Don't let them pump your baby up with the largest pile of stuff you've ever seen in your life going into the delicate little body of a baby. Even if it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you just break it up into, I would say 5, but let's say 4 visits to the doctor instead of 1. And certain things I think you should do. We've already taken out and are in the process of taking out mercury and aluminum now. You know what mercury is, you know what aluminum is. Who the hell wants that pumped into a body? And there were rumors about both of them for a long time, but we're having them taken out. We're having them taken out of the vaccines. Hepatitis B, again, that's sexually transmitted, and we think you should wait. I think you should wait till 12. I'm just making these statements from me. I'm not making them from these doctors, because when they talk about, different results, different studies, I talk about a lot of common sense, and they have that too. They have that too, a lot. But I recommend the hepatitis B. Take it at 12. Sexually transmitted. You don't have to give it to the baby when the baby's 2 years old. And there are a lot of theories on that, but not when they're 12. Doesn't seem to be a problem at all. The MMR and the chickenpox. Chickenpox has already been broken out. It's a singular shot. But the MMR is not. And I've heard for years that there's a problem with it. But they say that there's no problem if you do each shot separately, not put together. So an MMR, go out and do it separately. Don't take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby after the baby's born. Every time the baby gets a shot, the baby gets a shot. They say, here, take a cup of Tylenol. I've heard that for years. Take Tylenol. Don't take Tylenol. Don't have your baby take Tylenol. Now, Tylenol is fine for people that aren't pregnant, that aren't in the situation that we're talking about. One very specific situation. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. When you have your baby, don't give your baby Tylenol at all, unless it's absolutely necessary. Don't do it. Break up your visits to the doctors. Break them up. Do it in 5 if you can. Now, it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. Oh, you have to go back another year later. You're going to go back each year for 4 years, 5 years, 3 years. Just break it up. Break it up. Because it's too much liquid. Too many different things are going into that baby at too big a number. The size of this thing, when you look at it, it's like 80 different vaccines and beyond vaccines, and 80. And you give that to a little kid. I mean, I can tell you that I had a woman who worked for me, a beautiful, wonderful woman, worked in Trump Tower, and she had the most perfect child. Beautiful. Just perfect. And I remember this little blonde-haired boy running around the lobby of Trump Tower, so healthy and so vibrant. And I said, that's great. One day, I came in and she was crying her eyes out behind the counter. She worked at the front desk. She was crying her eyes out. I've never, as much as I've ever seen anyone distraught, she was. I said, are you okay? What happened? My boy, I've lost my boy. What does that mean, your boy? My boy, you know him, sir. You've seen him grow up. He was so beautiful. And I took him for a vaccine, sir. And he developed this unbelievable, I think she said 107, 108. You know, it goes well beyond when this happens. It goes up to 106, 107, 108. You know, we hear 105 and you're in trouble, but it just goes up to a level that you never hear about, but it goes up very high. And it's fried. They get fried. She said, I took him, he developed an unbelievable temperature. And I've lost him, sir. He's gone. And then I saw the boy. It was so tragic to see. That was the following day. That was the following day after the vaccine. And I've seen it 2 other times, and I think 3 other times, but 2 other times, where they go to the doctor and they get the vaccine, they get the shot. The kid is, badly hurt. Let's be nice, badly hurt. And just do it. Break it up into 5, break it up into 4, break it up into 3 if you have to, but go to the doctor 4 times instead of once, or 5 times instead of once. And for some reason, they insist that you put it all into the body, and maybe that's the drug companies that make more money that way. Maybe it's the doctors because they don't want to be, doing this so much. Maybe it's the doctors. They get maybe more money. Who the hell knows what it is? Don't do it. Get them broken into 4 or 5 visits. Do it 4 or 5. That means you have 20%, 25% what you're putting into the baby's body. It can only help. It can only help. And the other things I told you about, just the word tough it out. It's easy for me to say tough it out, but sometimes in life with a lot of other things, you have to tough it out also. Don't take Tylenol. Don't give Tylenol to the baby. When the baby's born, they throw it at you. Here, give them a couple of Tylenol. They give them a shot. They give them a vaccine. And every time they give them a vaccine, they're throwing Tylenol. And some of these babies, they're long born, and all of a sudden they're gone. And it doesn't hurt not to do it. It doesn't hurt. There's no downside. There's no downside at all. And break up MMR. Break it up. It's practically a known fact that if you break it up, you're not going to have a problem. But for years, we've been hearing how bad MMR is as a combination.
Yeah, Tylenol stock is about to take a plummet. I'm telling you.
And there are other things. It's interesting because there are other things, we were talking about it, other different drugs, pills that you take that we know are so bad and they don't take them anymore. But for some reason, with this, they keep taking it. Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. You'll be uncomfortable. It won't be as easy, maybe. But don't take it. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. And don't give it to the baby after the baby is born. And you know what? We have more than 3 years left. And I told Bobby and the doctors behind me, and they are so committed to this, I told them that
Nah, he ain't
This is
said
the
nothing
number
about
one
bleach.
thing I want to do from you. And you know, we have something else called favored nations where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,000%, by 900, 600, 500, 1,200. We're going to be reducing drug prices at levels never seen. It's called favored nations. We're going to be paying what right now, we're like the garbage can for the rest of the world, and we have been for forever. We pay much higher for drugs than the rest of the world. We subsidize the rest of the world. We're not doing that anymore. And that's a big thing. That's a big thing. That's bigger than anything. I told the story the other night that I was so proud of my first term that for the final year, drug prices went down 0.25%. And I was so proud. I said, why? I'm the first one to do it. I think it was 28 years, they said, where drug prices went down from the beginning of the term to the end. And I was so proud. I called a news conference. I said, you know, drug prices have gone down. First time it's happened in 28 years. You know what it was? 0.25%. I was so proud. Now we're going to have them go down from $100 a pill to $9 a pill. From $1,300 for a shot of like an Ozempic or the fat, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. Sometimes it works, I guess, for people. The ones I've seen, it hasn't worked so well. I got a lot of friends that have fat. And they said, yeah, I lost some weight. I said, you don't look it to me. But they paid $1,300, $1,200, and they go to London and they pay $88. And they call me, they go, what's this all about? We're subsidizing the rest of the world stupidly because there are a lot of stupid people in this country running things. And how big is that? But to me, that's nothing compared to autism.
He said it's a lot of stupid people in this country that's running things.
We're going to bring him into the Oval Office. I have the best president he's ever going to get, okay? A big one. I saved it for you, okay? Because I heard you were coming. Look how beautiful he is. So, that's it. There's nothing much to say. Don't take Tylenol if you're pregnant, and don't give Tylenol to your child when he's born or she's born. Don't give it. Just don't give it. And we're going to have, I think, really, if you do all the things that I say, break it up, just break it up, break up the shots with the doctor. MMRs, as I told you, separate. Chickenpox already separate. You do these things, I'm telling you, I want to, when I leave office, I don't want to have, it's going to be the kind of number that we're hearing, where it's 1 in 32 or 1 in 10, because I've heard 1 in 10 also. And in California, it's really bad. I want it to be, let's get it back to maybe 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 20,000 or maybe none in 20,000. And the only way you're going to do that, because this is artificially induced. This is induced by something. You don't go from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000, then to 1 in 10. That means you're taking something and something's wrong. And I feel very certain, and I know I'll be criticized. Someday they'll look back and they'll say, well, it wasn't, but I think it will. I think we're going to have a tremendous, this is the most important thing. There's nothing more important than me. We cured inflation that Biden gave us. He gave us so much inflation, the biggest ever in history. We got inflation done. We brought prices down. We gave you the largest tax cuts, all of that stuff. It doesn't mean a thing compared to what we're doing today. This means everything. So we're going to save a lot of children from a tough life, really tough life. We're going to save a lot of parents from a tough life. Okay, how about a few questions? Let's just make it on this subject. This is so beyond as a subject that I'd rather not talk about, some nonsense on the economy. And I will say this, the economy is unbelievable. The stock market just hit another record high and all that stuff. This means more to me. Yeah, please.
I have one on your announcement, one on vaccines that's also related.
Yes.
Why do you think we haven't heard more previously about the tie to autism and acetaminophen?
Nobody knows. I don't know. Not only that, when you say it, you get attacked. I was saying something similar, not as strongly, because now facts are on our side. But I was saying it with Bobby 20 years ago, and I was attacked. I said, whoa, what was that all about? I had no idea. You get attacked. I don't know. The medical community, drug companies, doctors, I don't know what it is. All I want to do, I don't care about being attacked. It doesn't matter to me. I believe that the numbers at the end of our term or shortly thereafter could be really phenomenal. I want it to go up just like it came down to this horrible level. 1 in 10, 1 in 12. I was told 1 in 10. I was told 1 in 12. Today I heard 1 in 31 if you add the girls and the boys together. It's crazy. And it was 1 in 10,000 and 1 in 20,000. It's not even sustainable for a country, you want to know the truth. And there are other places that don't have it. And they have things in common. And that's called medical research. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, I'm curious, as you look at the trend lines,
Yeah.
how much of this is the causation of acetaminophen and how much is sort of better diagnosis, doctors, researchers having a better understanding of what, is on the autism spectrum?
You want to do that? Sure, go ahead.
That's one of the canards that has been promoted by the industry for many years, that it's changed diagnostic criteria, better recognition. But there's been study after study done of that completely debunks that. One of them by the Mind Institute at UC Davis, University of California. But also it's just common sense. Because you're only seeing this in people who are under 50 years of age. If it were better recognition or diagnosis, you'd see it in 70-year-old men. I've never seen this happening in people my age. I've never seen a case of full-blown autism, and that means profound autism. I want to be very careful. Head banging, stimming, toe walking, nonverbal, non-toilet trained. I've never in my life seen a 70-year-old man who looks like that. You're only seeing it in the kids. It's an epidemic.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was hoping that you could clear up confusion for moms and dads across America, many of whom voted for you. There's a statement that was put out by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and in their statement, they write, acetaminophen remains a safe, trusted option for pain relief during pregnancy, and that's at odds with what you said and with what many of the experts say. How do you clear up this confusion?
That's the establishment. They're funded by lots of different groups. And you know what? Maybe they're right. I don't think they are, because I don't think the facts bear it out at all. They're fighting for something that, in my opinion, they shouldn't be fighting for. But here's the thing. There's no downside to doing, other than a mother will have to, as I say, tough it out a little bit. There's no downside to doing this. It's not like, oh, if you do this, you're going to die. There's no downside. There's no downside to going over a 4-year or a 5-year period or a 3-year period, or even if you space them out for 6 months, you space it out. There's no downside. And that's why I will say the gentleman behind me, they have very strong views and they feel that we're right, but they'll have more research done over the next 2 months. I said, well, 2 months is a long time. A lot of people can be saved, and there's no downside to doing it. Everything I said, there's no downside to doing it. It can only be good. And I think you're going to see very good results. That's establishment stuff, and we've been reading that about a lot of things for years. And you know what's happened? We've gone from 1 in 20,000 to 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 32 to 1 in 10. Think of it. 1 in 10 or 12 or 1 in 31. Think of it. 1 in 31 people, young kids, get autism? What is it, Jeff?
My question is about leucovorin. You mentioned that as part of your plan. That is also a chemotherapy treatment. Have you been in touch with the drug companies to increase production about that? And I'm going to throw in my follow-up at the same time. Dr. Oz mentioned that this will be available with CHIP, children who are on CHIP. But the big beautiful bill reduced funding for CHIP and Medicaid by $1 trillion over the next 10 years. Are you concerned that that will impact your ability to get this drug out?
I'll explain it to you in a second, but please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leucovorin is not a chemotherapy, but it is a vitamin given with chemotherapy sometimes. And the idea here is that the folic acid receptor in the brain is blocked by some antibody response. It might be 20, 40, 50% of kids with autism. And leucovorin will bypass that blocked receptor. And that's why so many doctors are probably seeing so much clinical improvement on kids with leucovorin.
So are you going to increase production?
Yeah, we've been in touch with the companies, and they are prepared to ramp up production, and we actually talked to them about a month ago.
And on your second part of your nasty question, the number is that the great big beautiful bill, which is the greatest, I think one of the best things ever passed in the history, with the tax cuts and regulation cuts and all of the things it does. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, all of it does. It also gives $200 million, as just explained by Dr. Oz, and I'd like you to explain that to exactly what you're saying.
The Big Beautiful Bill actually increases Medicaid spending projected over the next 10 years by $200 billion. There's also a $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Fund, which will allow a lot of these programs to get in the rural parts of the country that the President and Congress are handing to governors to start distributing. Those grants have already gone out. The money will be allocated by the end of this calendar year. And I want to point out that the ability of NIH to do research that feeds and hands the ball to the FDA, which then can change labeling to allow Medicaid programs in states to fund this program, will ensure that the things that President Trump and Secretary Kennedy desire are financially affordable for the families around America.
You mentioned CHIP, so that's why I asked that question. You mentioned that CHIP would fund this for children.
But most of the kids are on Medicaid, probably 43% on Medicaid, another 8-10% on CHIP, and all the programs in general are being evaluated. Most of what the one.
I don't think that was a nasty question. I think that was a great question about Medicaid being cut and how people was going to afford it. I think that was a good question.
And the only thing we cut, so that's 200 billion positive. The only thing we cut was for fraud, waste, and abuse, of which there was a lot in this country, and nobody minds that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you said that there is no reason to give newborn babies hepatitis B vaccines. But hepatitis B can be contracted not just during sexually transmitted diseases, in terms of needles to open wounds. So when you say you feel, is that appropriate to be telling?
I think it's absolutely appropriate. I think they should wait till they're 12 years old. Yes, please.
Mr. President, thank you all for being here. You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines. Would you like other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out, like MMRV?
What is this again?
You've been talking.
Yeah, speak up, please.
Sorry. You've been talking about reducing autism by spacing out vaccines.
Right, correct.
Would you like the other combined vaccines babies receive to be spaced out, like MMRV?
I would say yes, but that just is, for me, it's a lot of common sense involved in this. It's a process, but we're looking, but it should at least be given separately. Now, it's possible that you can reduce them and I'd give them in small doses, but it's possible maybe in that particular case, the MMR wouldn't work in small doses, but you can certainly give them as separate shots. It's been proven to be very safe when you give them in separate shots instead of mixing. So I don't think there's any reason to do that. Do you agree with it? I'm not a doctor, but I'm giving my opinion. I don't think there's any reason to do that. So it's been proven to be safe when you break them up. But MMR by itself, I've heard bad things about it for many years. Yes, please.
Is the spectrum too broad, in your opinion? For research purposes, you are dealing with a population of children who might have social boundary difficulties, and then you have children who are, going to grow up to be adults with diapers. I mean, what do you think?
We don't know how broad the spectrum is. We don't know exactly where it starts and where it ends, but we do know what we're going through. We're going through some very serious trouble, and we know autism. I mean, it could be bigger, it could be smaller, a little bit smaller, but the number is unacceptable. And the number, the way it's come down, because the spectrums remain the same, the number, the way it's come down is just unacceptable, meaning come down to that level of 1 in 10, 1 in 12, 1 in 31.
Mr. President, medical professionals.
Go ahead in the back.
This question is more directed towards Secretary Kennedy. It was talked about that we're just kind of finding out about the fact that babies are affected this way. Is there a concern that information is being suppressed right now within HHS, and could an investigation perhaps be launched, seeing any more?
Well, I think information has been really not given out very freely over the years, absolutely. And I think that's by drug companies and maybe doctors, but I certainly think that over the years. I think this is a different group. We have a lot of information. And that information, I mean, it's the information that we have that we're making these statements. And I'm making them out front, and I'm making them loud, and I'm making them strongly not to take Tylenol, not to take it. Just don't take it unless it's absolutely necessary, and there's not too many cases where that will be the case. And again, what's the worst? The worst is nothing can happen. It's very positive. That's a positive thing. But I don't believe I don't actually believe that's possible. I think the results are going to be amazing. I want to see amazing results by the time I leave this beautiful building. And I will consider this, I believe, with the wars, I've stopped 7 different wars. I've saved millions of lives. I've done a lot of things. This will be as important as any single thing I've done, because I know ladies, beautiful ladies just like this that are going through the same thing, and it's not easy, and I admire you for being able to do it. But I admire him too. I wish I had a face that looked like that. If I looked like him, I would have been president a long time ago.
Is widely used in other countries too. As you make this announcement, do you expect your decision may affect
I hope
other
they follow
countries?
it, yeah. I hope they follow it. Yeah, other countries are, sell Tylenol. Some countries don't. I mean, I hear Cuba, now, again, you'll have to check this out, but I hear Cuba doesn't have it because it's very expensive. And they don't have the money to have it, or they don't want to spend the money to have it. They don't have Tylenol. And I hear they have essentially no autism. So you'll have to check it out. Yeah, Brian?
Medical professionals have warned for decades.
I said, not you. You're CNN. You're fake news. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to go back to the Amish community.
He said, not you, you CNN, you fake news. Wow.
I saw it on a podcast, and the host asked him what the rates were for like ADHD and autism, and he had no idea about ADHD, didn't know that it existed, and certainly didn't know of any cases. What are they doing?
It doesn't exist with the Amish community, and they don't take all of this junk. It doesn't exist. That tells you, doesn't that tell you? That's like certain countries where it doesn't exist and they don't take it. Would you like?
Yeah, CNN might as well not show up. Trump is not messing with them.
Mixed group, so there's a subset that take vaccines, a subset that does not. And we know they have very low rates of chronic disease all across the board.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Should the establishment media show at least some openness to, trying to figure out what the causes of autism are?
I wish they would, yeah.
And why are they so closed-minded?
Well, they just, look, it's not only the media, in all fairness. It's
Let's
some
go,
people.
Ballin.
When you talk about vaccines, they go crazy. And, I'm a big supporter of vaccines. I got a certain vaccine approved in 9 months.
Can we get 16 more on that like button? We almost at 500, guys. Click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. Help us to get to 500 on the likes, guys. Double tap your screen if you're on a mobile device.
Democrats think they think Operation Warp Speed was one of the greatest things any president has done. Any president. It's, we're very proud of what happened. We got hit with something that came from a place that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. Those things take place, and you're very unpleasantly surprised. But no, I'm a big believer in vaccines. Polio vaccine, big believer in vaccines. I know Bobby and you guys have it out a little bit, but he's a believer in vaccines too. But I've seen how great vaccines can be, how incredible they can be. So I'm a believer. Yeah. Yeah, please.
You're commenting about MMR and hepatitis B, and you said those were your suggestions. Have you spoken with Secretary Kimmel about actually making those changes?
I have. I've spoken to all the doctors about it, and doctors that are not here right now. I've spoken to many doctors about everything we're talking about. And, the Tylenol has started to be spoken of over the last period of time, but we've been doing the research. A lot of what they've been speaking about comes from right here, by research done by these people. And I just say it again, don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. And don't give it to your child after your child is born. And do all those other things, little things, to spread out your visits, et cetera, on the vaccine. And I want to thank everybody. This is a very important day. Thank you very much.
All right, so y'all heard Trump basically tell y'all, you know, do not give your kids Tylenol, do not take it. That's what he said. Space out the vaccines, you know, and potentially that could be the cure for this autism situation, guys. I don't know how many of y'all out there agree with what Trump said, but that's basically what he said. Do not take Tylenol and space out your vaccines with your little ones, guys. When it comes to the kids, he also said that other countries don't experience this problem, you know, basically because they're not taking Tylenol and giving vaccines, you know. And he says that the medical field backs this. He had people up there to speak, basically physicians and things of that nature, some of the top ones in the country, and they back what Trump is saying about this Tylenol, you know, and the vaccines, guys. So that was the big announcement that Trump was making about autism, guys. Whether you agree with it, don't agree with it, I just present the information. I'm not saying I agree with it or don't agree with it. I just wanted y'all to know exactly what it is that he was saying, guys. Y'all feel free to let me know you guys' thoughts in the comment section. All right, we've been hearing a whole bunch about Jimmy Kimmel, guys, and I told y'all I was gonna bring y'all this update. Let's get to this update on Jimmy Kimmel, guys. Yeah, man, the last that we heard, he was canceled. Well, guess what, guys? It looks like he may not be canceled anymore. Check this out.
ABC says in a statement that we made the decision last week to suspend production to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment. But now, after having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, the ABC says we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. So Kimmel's getting back to work.
He's back on Tuesdays, guys.
Wow, Brian, that is significant, especially given that some of the players outside of Disney in a corporate setting, like Nexstar and Sinclair, they essentially have deals that allow them.
Jimmy Kimmel will be back on air Tuesday, guys. They have reinstated his show. It seems like the public has most definitely spoken out about the situation. It was made a big deal when they cut the show. Now Disney says he's back on air starting Tuesday.
To preempt his show, and that's part of the reason that it was suspended. Yeah. Do we know how they might react to this?
We don't, and that becomes the big question now. Will these local station affiliates choose to air Jimmy Kimmel Live, or will they continue to protest the comedian, even though the network is bringing him back nationwide? ABC does gently chastise Kimmel in this statement. The statement says, quote, "The decision to suspend him, we made it because we felt some of the comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive." So they're very gently saying they disagreed with Kimmel last week, but obviously they're bringing him back as of tomorrow.
And we don't know, obviously, all of the considerations that went into this, Brian, but I would say leaders, obviously, at ABC and Disney have had the benefit of a few days of feedback.
Yeah, including from Disney employees who were very disturbed, including from Hollywood stars and showrunners, the kind of people Disney wants to work with, and from free speech groups, politicians, even some Republican politicians like Ted Cruz. We know the condemnation of Disney has been widespread. Now, what we don't know yet is what the counter reaction will be from President Trump and his allies.
That's a really good point. Brian, please stand by. Terry, your reaction to this news?
It's great news. It's great news. And I think you're absolutely right, and Brian is absolutely right. This was a community standing up for the rights of Jimmy Kimmel and all people who speak in public, entertainers and we're journalists and all of them. And it worked, at least with the head of Disney. And it makes good sense.
So what do y'all feel about it? Jimmy Kimmel will be live, y'all, Tuesday night. He's back.
They would have won in court. One thing that gets lost in this, you do not lose your First Amendment rights because you have a broadcast license. The Supreme Court has been clear on this. The government cannot take your license because of speech they don't like.
You were talking about Katharine Graham when the news broke, and these are the considerations of these bigger companies about how they're going to handle this and how they're going to think about it. They do have the benefit of some history as they do consider these moves.
Right, well, Katharine Graham, when Nixon threatened to take her FCC, the Washington Post's FCC licenses, they had some local stations. It was a main source of income.
she published them anyway. She said, forget about it. And that kind of corporate courage is rare, especially in the face of an administration that exceeds by many orders of magnitude any other presidency trying to silence speech it doesn't like.
If we still have Brian, I want to go back to him because one of the...
I told y'all the American people, man, made it an issue saying they was trying to silence people. What is freedom of speech if you're not have the freedom to speak? I'm just saying. So Jimmy Kimmel is back, guys.
Interesting bits of reporting that we got over the last few days was that Kimmel was actually preparing a monologue that would up the ante against some of the feedback that he got from the Trump administration. I mean, can you imagine, Brian, what might be formulating in terms of a response when he gets back on the air?
Right, Kimmel wanted to defend himself. So now Tuesday night's monologue becomes even more interesting. What he will be critical, and it might affect what local stations decide to do going forward.
Yeah, certainly will. I want to know what you think, Terry, about just sort of the moment that we are in when it comes to free speech. And I also want to play a moment from the White House press briefing today. This was a correspondent for Turning Point USA Frontline, associated with the group that Charlie Kirk founded, who asked the White House press secretary what her message is to Americans who are too afraid to express their beliefs. Here's a brief part of what Caroline Levitt said.
We have a right to free speech in this country. The president supports it. It is protected by our beautiful Constitution. And Americans should not cower in fear. They should rise up in courage to continue speaking the truth.
Costing them their jobs, ballin'.
What do you think about what you're hearing from the White House there as we just get this news that Jimmy Kimmel will return to air tomorrow night?
Right, well, see what the White House says. Everybody should speak up except the ones that the president doesn't like. He just barked at my former colleague, Jonathan Karl. Maybe we'll come after you because I don't like the content of your news coverage. All of this is bedrock First Amendment rights that we all have. And I think they've overreached here. Most Americans, even many who support President Trump, did not like the kind of gangster talk that the head of the FCC said, yeah, you can do this the easy way, you can do it the hard way. And they understand how precious this right is, even for people that they disagree strongly with. There's good common sense about our First Amendment rights, and I think Trump is running up against that.
Yeah, Senator Ted Cruz said it was out of Goodfellas, to your point there. Terry, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. And this is the breaking news just in from Disney. Jimmy Kimmel, his show will return to air tomorrow night. Big news there, as a lot of conservatives who had been very pleased that his show was yanked off the air indefinitely initially were characterizing it as a firing, but his show will return.
So as soon as tomorrow, guys, Jimmy Kimmel is back. One more thing, I seen y'all asking me earlier about TikTok, guys. They reached a deal. TikTok ain't going nowhere.
The very latest as it relates to the Trump presidency and TikTok. Transitioning your screen as we are following that one day before TikTok was set to go dark, President Donald Trump says the U.S. and China have reached a framework deal to keep it running in the U.S. Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith joining us with the very latest.
We have a deal on TikTok. President Trump says the U.S. has a buyer for TikTok and the framework of a deal to transfer ownership, which could be finalized Friday when he speaks with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. We have a group of very big companies that want to buy it. And, you know, the kids wanted it so badly. Major tech companies Oracle, Blackstone, and Amazon were just some of the companies reportedly bidding for the app, which was set to go dark Wednesday over national security concerns related to its Chinese-based parent company. Though sources tell Fox Business TikTok will stay up and running this week.
President Trump made it clear that he would have been willing to let TikTok go dark, that we were not going to give up national security in favor of the deal.
The president has already signed multiple executive orders delaying a ban while a sale was negotiated. An eventual agreement may require approval from Congress, which passed a law last year saying Chinese owner ByteDance had to sell the app or lose its estimated 170 million users in the United States.
I'm hopeful that what comes out of this is something that actually divests
the Chinese to a set of
Yeah, so it's looking like TikTok ain't going nowhere, guys.
U.S. owners.
Analysts say TikTok's new owners will likely face strict congressional oversight.
Undoubtedly, there'll be an oversight committee of lawmakers who wrote the law, watching how this code gets rewritten to make sure American data is not on Chinese servers.
While the president was originally a critic of TikTok, he now credits the app for helping him win back the White House in 2024. The White House itself has also launched its own TikTok page. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Mark, thank you so much for that detailed breakdown. And as we continue to follow the very latest, take a look at your screen. The latest from Bloomberg on this Friday. They put this out on X saying, quote, President Donald Trump's call with Chinese President Xi Jinping is slated to take place Friday. That's today at 9 a.m. Washington time. So that's Eastern Standard Time. According to a U.S. official, we're just a few hours away from that becoming a reality. We want to bring into the conversation former CIA and cybersecurity expert.
But just like I told y'all, basically TikTok isn't going anywhere, guys. They most definitely reached that deal. TikTok is here to stay, guys. It's not going anywhere. So I brought y'all the briefing from the White House. I brought y'all Trump's speech about autism, and he says don't take Tylenol, basically break up your child's vaccine shots. I most definitely brought y'all the update on Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, he's most definitely back. He will be on tomorrow night. And I brought y'all the update on TikTok. They're not going anywhere. All right. So with that being said, man, I covered everything in the title, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to anybody that sent me a gift. Anybody that sent a super chat or a super sticker, know that you appreciate it. I encourage anybody that likes this show, most definitely grab you a membership. It ain't but $5, the same amount as a bag of chips these days, and it most definitely helps out the channel and keeps me motivated to go live. So until I see y'all again, man, y'all stay safe. Shout out to all of my members. Shout out to my subscribers. Shout out to my moderators, man. Y'all keep the show running smooth. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. And once again, until I see y'all again, y'all make sure y'all stay safe. Y'all know how this go. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. As any more news comes across that's important, I most definitely will bring it to y'all right here on Everything News. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. With that being said, I'm gone. I'll see y'all later.